All right. So, from the making of a small toy to that of a complex time machine, or what Sir has rightly mentioned here about the coronavirus and the vaccines, the importance of which is looming large. All of us know how important creativity, innovation, and research are in all these matters. And we know that empiricist studies based on critical evaluation of data and also objective analysis can lead to outcomes which in fact can be beneficial to the locality, region, nation, and also sometimes world at large. And regarding research, we know that the iterative impact is also very important, where the researcher has to go back to the research question, revise, bounces back with a lot of answers and new findings. That is what we can understand. So good evening to all. Respected Principal, Dr. Sister Jaseena Joseph, Honorable Guest of Honor of the Day, Ambassador T.P. Sreenivasan Sir, respected other dignitaries of the days. That is, we had Dr. Murari P. Tapaswi, Dr. Ayar Gowda, Dr. Gopakumar V, and also Sri Vishwanathan GS, who are going to be the speakers or various sessions. And also we have the Lauren Ed Research Associates, Jinto Sebastian, and also his wife Sandhya. Let me also welcome at this juncture Dr. Sangeetha Kaimal, who is the coordinator of the R&D cell, and also the teachers, students, and the budding scholars. So let me tell you that this is going to be a wonderful session, a national workshop, which is going to address a lot of areas that I mentioned just now. And they have titled, the title of the webinar is this way: Resources for Research, Journal Selection, and Research Productivity. So I'm sure that this is going to address a lot of issues which a budding research scholar, somebody who's pursuing research, will be we would find it very useful. I'm very sure about that. Before we start the formalities, let us invoke the blessings of God Almighty, the Omnipresent and the Omnipotent One. And let me call now Parvana S. Nair, student, Department of Zoology, Providence Women's College, to, in fact, for her a prayer. So Parvana, please join us.
ചന്തമേറിയ പൂവിലും ശബളാഭമാം ശലഭത്തിലും സന്തതം കരതാരിയെന്നൊരു ചിത്രചാരുരി കാട്ടിയും ഹന്തചാരു കടാക്ഷമാലകൾ അർക്കരശ്മിയ നീട്ടിയും ചിന്തയാമണി മന്ദിരത്തിൽ വിളങ്ങും ഈശനെ വാഴ്ത്തുവിൻ ചന്ദനേറിയ പൂവിലും ശബളാഭമാം ശലഭത്തിലും.
Okay, thank you, Parvana, for that beautiful prayer. Now, all of us know that research, in fact, offers a lot of opportunities as far as career is concerned. It opens a lot of vista for new knowledge. And not only that, I can tell you that research changes you personally. And we have such a person in our midst who's, I can say, an unparalleled perfectionist, an avid scholar, and a passionate researcher herself. And so to welcome the gathering, let me now invite the R&D cell coordinator, Dr. Sangeetha G. Kaimal.
Respected Principal, Providence Women's College, Calicut, Dr. Sister Jaseena Joseph, Guest of Honor, Sri T.P. Sreenivasan IFS, former Ambassador of India and former Vice Chairman of the Kerala State Higher Education Council, Dr. Gopakumar, former University Librarian and Head, Department of Library and Information Science, Goa University, Dr. Murari P. Tapaswi, retired Chief Scientist, CSIR National Institute of Oceanography, Goa, Dr. Ayar Gowda, Adjunct Professor, Department of Library and Information Science, Mangalore University, Mr. Vishwanath GS, Assistant Librarian, School of Planning and Architecture, Vijayawada. Sri Jinto Michael and Srimati Sandhya Sebastian, Director and MD, Law and Ed Research Associates. Dr. Priyadarsini, the Coordinator of the Research and Development Cell and also the Head of the Department, Providence Women's College. Other esteemed dignitaries on this virtual dais, dear colleagues and participants of this national online workshop, a warm good evening to you all. Excellence is a gift to those who have the will to win, the desire to succeed, and the urge to reach their full potential. Providence Women's College, Calicut, the first ever arts and science college for women in the Malabar region, stands as a touchstone for all the educational institutions in creating a saga of excellence, both in curricular and co-curricular areas. 70 years of glorious history and existence, Providence continues its journey towards the noble mission of women empowerment through value-based education. When the dream in our heart becomes the vision of our life, our entire deeds inspire us to realize them as achievements. Our dear principal, Dr. Sister Jaseena Joseph, who adorns the crown of our college, is committed to leading Providence with vision, integrity, and courage. With awe and admiration, I extend a hearty welcome to you, dear sister. The magic behind any success is the unrelenting desire coupled with determination and commitment, which creates the motivation to reach the goal. The life of Sri T.P. Sreenivasan celebrates 37 illustrious years of fame and excellence in the Indian Foreign Service, stands as an epitome of firm resolution and persistence in accomplishing victory always. A veteran diplomat in the pinnacle of academic brilliance, he was also at the helm of the Kerala State Higher Education Council as its executive vice chairman. With nearly 20 years of experience in multilateral diplomacy, he has held various portfolios and represented India at a number of international conferences organized by the United Nations, the Commonwealth, and the Non-Aligned Movement. On behalf of Providence Women's College and Law and Ed Research Associates, I consider it as not only my privilege but honor to roll out the red carpet for the chief guest of the day, Sri T.P. Sreenivasan IFS, to the inaugural session of the 6-day National Online Workshop on Resources for Research, Journal Selection, and Research Productivity.
Thank you.
Welcome, you, sir. The Research and Development Cell aims to seek, to find, and never to yield. With overwhelming pride and delight, let me extend the most convivial welcome to the resource persons of the National Workshop, Dr. Murari P. Tapasvi, Dr. I.R.N. Gowda, Dr. Gopakumar V., and Mr. Vishwanath G.S. to this virtual platform. Welcome, sirs. Law and Ed Research Associates Kottayam. The role of the team Law and Ed, beyond doubt, was instrumental in planning and execution of this national online workshop. May I extend the most cordial welcome to Sri Jinto Michael and Srimati Sandhya Sebastian, Director and MD, and the entire team of Law and Ed Research Associates to this event. The Research and Development Cell Providence Women's College expanded its horizon under the able leadership of Dr. Priyadarsini, the coordinator of the Research and Development Cell and the head of the Department of History, Providence Women's College. When she is at the helm of affairs, neither quality nor grandeur is compromised. A very warm welcome, dear Miss. To my dear friends, colleagues, and participants, a wholehearted welcome to this national online workshop. I sincerely wish that this workshop edifies young minds by providing the perfect ambience for academic excellence.
Thank you, Sangeetha. Humbled and honored by your words indeed. So, nestled on the top of the Florican Hills, known for its lush greenery and serene campus, Providence Women's College, since its inception in 1952, has contributed tremendously to the empowerment of women and also educating the girls of Malabar. we are with an A plus, that which was accredited by the NAC in 2017, and also with the college with potential for status excellence. Had it been an in-person meeting, our principal would have loved to usher all of you to such a beautiful campus, but unfortunately, we are in fact here in this virtual platform now. I'm actually very happy to invite our dear principal, Dr. Sister Ashmita. She'll be in fact giving the presidential address here. Welcome, yes.
Honorable Sri T.P. Sreenivasan IFS, distinguished speakers, directors of law and ED research associates, teachers, students, and my dear budding research scholars. A pleasant evening to one and all. This undoubtedly the responsibility of all the higher education institution to create a research ecosystem so as to nurture and promote the curious young minds. Providence Women's College, one of the premier higher education institutions for women in the state, has always tried its best to imbibe the spirit of research and to develop analytical and critical thinking abilities in our students. To host a 6-day national online workshop on research, resources, and productivity of this dimension and stature, with an array of illustrious speakers and enthusiastic researchers joining us on this virtual platform, is certainly a matter of content and honor for all of us in this institution. We often wonder why the research journey until now has not been an encouraging one for India. India spends barely 0.69% of its GDP in research. However, the National Education Policy of 2020 provides for some light at the end of the research tunnel. It has its thrust areas in research with this vision to make India a research hub of the world by 2050. A research environment that it seeks to create in collaboration between the academia and industry, envisaging a patent policy structure, calls for sustained efforts in research in the higher education institutions. Providence Women's College, with 15 UG programs, 7 PG programs, and 3 research centers of its credit, has been striving relentlessly to create a research culture in the campus. The research and development center of the college takes the lead in this realm and has been instrumental in promoting the research activities in the college under the eminent leadership of Dr. Priya and Dr. Sangeetha. With a focus on undergraduate research, our aim is to identify and bring forth the research acumen in our students as early as possible. This workshop is yet another outcome of their constant efforts in this regard. Let me also express my sincere appreciation and gratitude to our partner, Law and ED Research Associates, for their earnest support and collaboration before we start our research ride that is all set to begin today. A name that doesn't need any introduction in the academic as well as administrative circle. We are indeed honored to have with us Sri T.P. Sreenivasan IFS, former Ambassador of India and former Vice Chairman of Kerala State Higher Education Council, to inaugurate this workshop. A successful administrator who has always stood apart with his unique views on foreign affairs, he has also proved his mettle as an academician with his creative and innovative inputs in the higher education scenario when he headed the Kerala State Higher Education Council. With his views and vision that are always praiseworthy, I'm sure that he would be able to kindle the spirit of inquiry and research in all the participants of this workshop. Thank you, sir, for gracing this occasion with your esteemed presence. From discussing on creating a reading list for research to reference management, using Mendeley and EndNotes, and selecting a journal for research publication, this workshop addresses minutely every aspect of research that would be greatly beneficial to all those who are pursuing it. We have an array of prominent scholars that include Dr. Murari P. Tabaswi, Dr. Gopakumar V, Dr. I.R.N. Gaudar, and Sri Vishwananda G.S., who are veterans to handle various sessions of this workshop. Let me, on behalf of the teachers and students of Providence, express our deepest gratitude to each one of you as we look forward to collaborate with you in the future research activities of the college. We are also happy to note the presence of a large number of young researchers who have registered for this workshop. And I can assure that this journey that you embark today will certainly solve numerous unsolved puzzles, questions, to bringing about the relevant outcomes and solutions. Let such endeavors create a more conducive research climate for innovation and creativity by kindling the curiosity and interest in young minds who have gathered here. Wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, sister, for your beautiful words. So we now move on to the most important part of this program. I can tell you that a major problem that plagues the research process is the difficulty in translating the research findings to practice. And that's a difficulty that we encounter as far as research is concerned. And moreover, I can also tell you, as far as the allocation of the funds are concerned, the major chunk goes to the IITs and IIMs and leaving poor arts and science colleges with almost nothing. So we have a right person to address all these issues, to talk about all these issues, because he has proved his mettle not only as an administrator, but also as an expert in the higher education scenario of Kerala when he was the vice chairman of the Kerala State Higher Education Council. And he's also a prolific writer and a columnist. So I believe it is imperative to, in fact, to break all these barriers with your help, sir. So let me again let me not waste this opportunity to introduce you to the audience once again, though Sangeetha has done a good job. So he hails from Kayankulam, and then after graduating from Maharaja's College, sir cracked the IFS exam in 1967, and he belongs to the 1967 batch. Then we can see that his resume is, in fact, it goes on and on with numerous details. So I have, in fact, encapsulated a few for the audience because we have only that much time with us. So he was a permanent representative of India to the United Nations, New York, governor for India of the Institute of Atomic Energy Agency, Vienna, ambassador to Austria and Slovenia. His other positions where he was a deputy chief of mission in the Embassy of India, Washington. He was the High Commissioner of India to Kenya. Then he served in the cities like Delhi, Tokyo, Thimphu, Moscow, New York, and Yangon. And as Sangeetha told, he has 20 years of multilateral diplomacy, experience in multilateral diplomacy, and he represented India at numerous meetings, some at UN, then the Commonwealth, and also the non-aligned movement. Then he was executive director of the IAEA 2020, a project that was launched by the International Atomic Energy Agency. Then he was also a member of the National Security Advisory Board of the Government of India. Then, of course, he was the vice chairman of the Kerala State Higher Education Council with the rank of a vice chancellor. So that is the introduction about Sir. And let me also tell you that he has written a large number of books, a few which I have brought here. That is, one has that is Encounters, another one is More Diplomacy, then another one about the journey of an ambassador. So the books are also almost 6 to 7 books that he has authored. And I have a personal experience also, sir, that was way back in 2014 when our college was hosting the conference, as the international conference, Kerala History Conference, and to pooling funds. In fact, I had contacted you, and I actually, pardon my ignorance, I did not know about the significance of the post that you were in fact heading, and I made a very casual call, and I was in fact surprised to hear the warmth at the other end, the cordiality, and also the way that he pooled in funds for us. So that still lingers in my mind. And when I got the invite here, I could see your name, because I knew that everything would be comfortable. I would be comfortable, and I believe that I sustained that amount of confidence throughout the session. So thank you, sir, for in fact for the cordial approach that you in fact shows to every stranger. So let me, on behalf of the entire staff and students of Providence Women's College, and also on behalf of the Law and Ed Research Associates, invite you to inaugurate this webinar and also give us the keynote address. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Priya. I did not realize that we had contacted each other before, and Sangeetha too. But the most distinguished principal, Dr. Jaseena Joseph, Sandhya Sebastian, who happens to be my student, it seems, at the IAS Academy, the coordinators, Laura and Ed Research Associates, the panel of experts, most of them seem to be experts in library science, and the coordinators, a large number of people are working behind this, I know. And I'm most delighted that I've been asked to inaugurate this workshop on research. In fact, I don't know how many of you have seen it, and I have written an article today in the Times of India about the situation, higher education situation in Kerala, occasioned by the present controversy between the Vice Chancellor and the Chancellor and the government. Of course, my purpose was not to intervene in that dispute, because I personally feel that the Chancellor should continue to be the governor for various reasons. But that's a different aspect which will have to be dealt with by the governor himself and the government. But what I was struck by this controversy is that Mr. Arif Muhammad Khan has opened up a discussion on the excellence of education in Kerala. And that is what I thought I should be grateful to him for, because chancellors normally keep quiet. They do not come out with any strong suggestions about the system. And this occasion, 1 or 2 instances that he quotes, again, we will not go into that, have shown that there are some problems. And what I wanted to say in my article was that this is just the tip of the iceberg. It is not just a matter of one Vice Chancellor being selected or another Vice Chancellor being removed or given extension. That is not the issue. If you look at the higher education system, which I've seen for 5 years from close quarters, I can assure you that there are many things wrong with the system. And I tried to, during my 5 years, not just myself, but with a large number of scholars and professors, universities, Vice Chancellors, we made a large number of suggestions. And out of the 16 reports we submitted, there was only one which was implemented, which was the autonomous colleges for the first time in Kerala. And that is probably the only visible achievement of my period as the Vice Chairman of the Kerala State Higher Education Council. But the other 15 suggestions we made were as important, because it was necessary for us to have a thorough change in our system. It is not enough that we tinker with the system. There are lots of things to be done. And we made specific suggestions. I'll be quite happy if they discuss it and reject it. But nobody even discussed it. And they just remain in the archives, and I have a book called Education of an Ambassador. The idea being how an ambassador was educated, not that I created education, because it was a great education for me to see from inside the education system in Kerala. So there are many of them, but I'm glad to say that the Chief Minister announced the other day with pride that he had agreed to establish an assessment and accreditation council for Kerala. And he, of course, did not attribute to us, but it was our suggestion that we had made out of these 16. So now out of 16, 2 have been implemented, I can say with pride, but 14 still remain. And why I say this, because one of the most important work that we did was research. The reason why we went into research with Dr. Ganga Pratap, who is probably the best person who can talk about research in Kerala or even the whole of India. He chaired that group and we did a lot of work. Why I arrived at that as a major investment or a major undertaking of the Higher Education Council, because questions were being asked all the time as to why none of the universities in India is on the list of world-class universities. That is very surprising, because now 1 or 2 have gotten at the 100 or 200 level. But at that time, there was not even one in the first 100 world-class universities. So everywhere I went, I was asked this question, not only in colleges, not only in Kerala, wherever else I went, this was the question being asked. So, well, I accepted it, and all of us accept it because we know our education system is not perfect. But then as Vice Chairman, I needed to go more deep into that. And so I started investigating 1 or 2 of these ranking systems as to what they look for to get these rankings. There must be some secret, some touchstone which would determine the difference between, say, Harvard University and Kerala University. There must be something which makes Harvard University different from Kerala University. And then I realized the number of questions they ask when they look for excellence in education. The first question being asked is, how many Nobel Prizes have you won in your university? Right? Since Rabindranath Tagore, we have not won any Nobel Prize, not to speak of research, but in anything. But Indians get Nobel Prizes. But they don't get it in India. They get it in the United States, they get it in the UK, they get somewhere else. So 0 mark for Nobel Prizes. The second, how many patents have these universities taken? Again, almost 0. Some have applied for patents, but by the time the patent is given to that person, somebody else has already produced the product, produced the material commercially, because our process of patent giving is so long and so tedious. So it's not that we did not do any work on patents, but hardly any patents have been taken, or much less it has not been taken into a startup. The third question being asked was, how many foreign faculty are there in your university? 0 most of the time. How many foreign students? Almost 0, except for a few Africans and Iranians who come under the ICCR program. Nobody voluntarily comes to India for higher education. And then all these direct us towards research rather than teaching. We have very good teaching institutions, particularly the IITs. But even IITs and IIMs did not do much research at that time. They were teaching institutions. And so it was not because we did not have institutions of excellence, but what marks out a university, because university is the seat of all knowledge. And so if you are just gather knowledge from other sources and put together on a thesis, that is not research. I used to joke that research is something that women do between their master's degree and marriage. But the moment they are married, the research is given up. And those 2 years, they happily roam around in university, etc., and have a good time. And then even the subject of research may have forgotten. Another thing I used to say that they gather all the information from various sources and write a nice thesis, get a degree, and bind them beautifully and keep them in the home shelf for the grandchildren to see that their grandmother had done some research. So beyond that, we were not putting research to any use, nor did we have enough research facilities. You ask a teacher or a principal that you want to do research, and so I want to have a break. The first thing he or she will tell you is that I cannot afford to be without you. Who will teach? Where will I get a substitute? So generally, because research, the principal or the vice chancellor does not think that that research is going to add to the value of a teacher. Research has now become some kind of a degree. You get a degree to be a teacher, you must have a PhD. So, and that is how its value has been devalued. And the answer to that is we must reorient our research. I went to very many of our research institutions in Kerala. Do you know that there are 8 research institutes, first-class research institutes in Trivandrum alone? But none of them has anything to do with any university, because they are research institutions funded by various departments of government, and they do serious work, and that goes into a different realm, and they are not linked with the universities at all. So I made a simple proposal. Why don't you put all these 8 universities, research institutions together and call it a Kerala Research University and put a vice chancellor? You have an excellent research university. But I cannot tell you the kind of objections and problems that arose, because each head of that institute had a vested interest in what he was doing, because he was getting grants from particular institutions, and they did not want to go anywhere near any university. Similarly, universities where there was very much interest in research, like for example, Mahatma Gandhi University had a great research professor who is now the vice chancellor. I don't know whether it's now time to do any research. They say normally when you appoint a professor as vice chancellor, you lose a good professor and get a bad vice chancellor. But in his case, of course, he is still a good vice chancellor too. But how many of them would you be able to pick up from our universities? So the absolute need, as I said in my article today, is that it is not the differences about who the chancellor should be or how much political influence the government should have in the university. In my opinion, it should not be, but it's a reality. And I said it is not on the appointment of vice chancellor, down to the appointment of a messenger. Pressure is applied on the administering authority. I had that experience of being pressurized to appoint people or to even regularize expenditure, which was illegal. So, and this is there. So the governor is what the chancellor is saying is not new, but it is much more widespread than that. So since our subject is research, let me come back to that. The important thing is, as you all know, the facilities. We do not have in our universities the facilities or encouragement. I made a proposal to liberalize teachers' travels abroad. One of the basic things that we need to do. Do you know whether if you have to go for research to a university abroad, it has to be approved by the Chief Minister of Kerala? What has the Chief Minister to worry about that? Your professor should decide where you should go for research. But that was not accepted. I said, no, this is security. My God, what security are you going to breach if you go to Oxford for a research? So anyway, so our mindset is not attuned to research, because research is considered to be something we start after you have become a master's degree holder. When I took my son, 11-year-old son, to a school in New York on our first posting to the United States, I went to a school and the teacher was interviewing me, not the child. And he said, how much research has he done? So I thought she got it all wrong. I thought probably she thought I was going to look for a job as a teacher, because research for a 11-year-old child, I was, surprised when I said, sir, madam, he is only 11 years old. He said, yes, but it's high time that he started research. So that is how, because education, if it has to be meaningful, the information can be given to your students. Information can be given to students, but the knowledge has to be acquired by them on the basis of the study that they have and the various processes that they go through. And this is really the crux of the problem about education in Kerala and generally India. One of the other reasons why we do not have this research linkage is because we do not have universities linkages with industry. That was another major proposal we made, that industries should have access to the universities and universities should have access to the industries. How many of you professors have been to an industry to find out what kind of graduates they need? Have you? You decide what you want to teach, physics, chemistry, biology, whatever it is, without thinking as to whether this will be of any use to them when they qualify. Then what do? We have these recruitment companies come to your campus, and it's a great favor to you. They pick up 3 or 4 or 5 and say, we have done you a great favor. What favor have they done? They have not spent a single penny on the education of those children. Their parents, their teachers, everybody works so hard. And they pick up those bright boys and girls saying that we are doing you a favor. This is not how it should be. It is not how it should be in many of the developed countries. The universities, the industries should tell the universities as to what kind of graduates they need in, let's say, next 5 years or 10 years. And then the university prepares a curriculum, prepare them with the specific need of a particular industry. And then the industry should put the money where their mouths are. So when you don't have research facilities, what we are not doing is that we are not linking our research of our students with industries. Of course, Kerala, we have no industries to talk about. So we can easily say, sorry, we have no industries here. But the knowledge industry is very much there. IT industry is very much there. But do we ever have any interaction between the industries and the universities? So this is why really much attention should be given to research. And Dr. Ganga Prasad's Pratap's committee had prepared a very extensive report, which of course sitting away in some corner of the Department of Higher Education. And I'm very glad to see that what you are going to look at is not simply a philosophy of research, but also the machinery for it, the facilities for it. And that's why I think you have several library science specialists in this workshop. Because I remember my life and career, I owe it to 2 or 3 librarians. Because librarians are the most useful and the most helpful people in the universities. And they are available because hardly anyone talks to them. You know, normally you go to the librarian and treat him like a clerk. He gives you some books, you ask for them. But no, I had 3 librarians who used to take great interest in what I was reading. And he would tell me, if you are reading for the civil service, don't read this one. This is what Mr. Alexander read. This is what Mr. So-and-so did, those who got into the civil service earlier. And he would tell me, you read this. And those were the days when we did not even have photocopying machines. So we had to sit down in the library and write down whatever you want in your notebook, which none of us do. Now people don't even go to the library. Yes, there are libraries on the internet. The whole world is there on the internet. But how many of us are able to pick up a book from the virtual libraries and read it? But when you went to the library, and if you had a helpful librarian who was concerned about your studies and who had the experience of several years of other students, it can be a great help in research. So I'm very glad that you have involved librarians in this workshop that you're doing. They will be able to guide our research students very much. And the last point I'd like to make is the link with industry does not end with your graduation. I know a Malayali professor of engineering in Stanford University who has produced 80 startups by his students. And he, as a professor, they have taken him as a partner in all these 80 startups, and he does not know where to keep his money. because the money is coming in through these startups. He just simply has to sit up and receive it. What a glorious thing that you will be doing. If you assist your students to research and find a product. Today you don't need a machinery, you don't need equipment, you don't need a factory, nothing. You simply have to have one idea. You have to hit upon an idea, like Hotmail or any small things which become very big. You know the story of the Hotmail. A young man who was not even an engineer found this Bangalore boy. And people told him, now it's better that you go and sell this to somebody because you are not making any money. So he said, how much money can we get? He said, go and ask Microsoft. So he took this program and he called the receptionist and said, I want to offer Hotmail to the company. They said, no, we don't deal with pornography, because they said Hotmail. But finally he persisted and had a meeting with some senior person. And to his horror, he offered $250 million for that one particular idea. He said to me, I met him in Washington, he said to me, that was the most difficult moment in my life because I did not expect even $1 million. And he offers me across the table $250 million. Do I say yes or no? If I say no, I walk out. But if I say yes, maybe I can get more money from somebody else. And so he gathered all the courage and said no, and walked out. And within 5 days, he was invited back by Microsoft and said, sorry, we undervalued your invention. We'll give you $450 million. Will you agree? That is the kind of experience that you have. How do these young people of Indian origin become CEOs of all these huge companies in the United States? So, of course, in the last 2 years, all of us have suffered, all of us have changed in so many ways, and we have to cope with so many other problems. But if it had not happened, if the pandemic had not come, these 2 or 3 years would have been very, very significant in terms of technology. You have heard about this famous Jewish historian, he calls himself Harari, Yuval Harari. You know, he said in 2019 at the Davos, you know, Davos is the place where all the thinkers go. And he said, world will not end, or the world will not suffer on account of nuclear weapons anymore. It will not have any pandemic anymore because, you know, by nuclear weapons nobody will use. There will be no pandemic because we are all very healthy and there is technology. And humanity will suffer on account of inordinate development of technology. The technology will start everything for you, do everything for you, and you will become worthless human beings. This is the prediction he made. He went wrong. The pandemic came. And now we are so grateful to technology that you survived the pandemic. Otherwise, how would we have been talking to each other? In the last 2 years, we have been completely constrained. There would have been depression all around the world if we did not have this machine to talk to. So even Yuval Harari went wrong because he thought that we would become mere slaves of the machines. No, humanity and the human strength is able to use technology to your own advantage in adversity. When I tried to introduce online education in 2011, everybody laughed at me. They said, why do you want this? We can have teachers here. So I talked about universities without bricks or mortar. I said, how can it be? Universities only want money. Every time the Vice Chancellor came to me, what does he want money for? To put up another toilet, to build another lecture hall. Nobody talks about the intellectual inputs. Nobody talks about libraries to be purchased. So infrastructure. And that was what RUSA was made use of. RUSA was not at all meant for infrastructure. But we ended up building. And soon a time will come and you don't need all these buildings. Anyway, if we had started in 2011, imagine how much prepared we would have been for the pandemic. Children would not have had to climb trees and fall from it in order to look for a connectivity. And let me give you another example of our complete contempt for technology. I tried to link up 5 colleges in Kochi, have a kind of cluster, and said, you, one teacher teaches in your 5 colleges. Why doesn't she teach in the 5 colleges at one time through technology? And so, maybe some colleges have better students, some colleges have better teachers, and they will find some kind of a level at which we can improve the quality of education. Nobody said no. So I made a heavy investment, set up the machinery, and 2 lectures were delivered from my own office through experts. And the 3rd day, lo and behold, somebody pulled the wire of the equipment. Deliberately. Because the rumor spread that this is some kind of a ploy by the Higher Education Council to reduce the number of guest teachers or teachers in general. Panic. Survival. So I can't tell you how much money it was because probably I would be hauled up for wasting that much money of the government of Kerala. But it happened. And of course, I don't have to talk about how we were cheated with the wrong machinery and specifications. And one government agency was a commission agent making money out of all this. And this is all horror stories. No, so what I'm coming to is the world is going to be different. Even after the pandemic is all gone and we are able to meet each other and talk and so on, the learning online is not going to end because we have learned all the benefits of it and it will continue. Already the UGC is talking about a hybrid system of education. So, and therefore research would be even easier. I started a research journal in the Higher Education Council and it was very difficult to get, peer-reviewed good research article. It was very difficult. But at the same time, there was a huge rush of articles. And it was very difficult to, go through them and find the most useful ones. Because the idea in that exercise was not to find anything new, but to fulfill some obligations that the teachers have to have in order to get their promotions, etc. And that, of course, is still probably but it must go beyond all that. So I have so many stories to tell, but I'll spare you that. But to say that if we improve our research in our universities, whether it is humanities or scientific subjects, I think the university system of education will completely change. And if it does not do that, we will remain a primitive teaching university. And that is where the NEP 2020 comes. It has been now politicized. They say, oh, this is Kavi Vastra or whatever, without even reading it. The Kerala government has said that this will be the death knell of education in Kerala. Has he read it? How many wonderful ideas are there in that report? There was a joke in the Soviet Union when I was there. Somebody asking whether You have read such and such a Nobel. I won't mention the name because many of them are banned. So what do you think of that Nobel? Then the party functionary will say, it's horrible. He said, have you read the book? He said, I have not, but I know it is horrible. And that is the system where the party lays down the line and then you repeat it. And that's what's happened. So if we were to implement the new education policy imaginatively and in a positive manner, there will be many things, particularly research, in that which has been given great attention. So the way to go is to embrace research, and I compliment you on this endeavor on your part to have this workshop, and I'm sure the participants will come out with new vision, a new approach, and a new dream, because that's all that we need. We always remember President Abdul Kalam for that. He made us all dream. He used to say 2020 India will be a superpower. And I was astonished by what he was saying. So I asked him very quietly one day, sir, do you really believe India will be a superpower in 2020? So he patted on my back and said, I know. What? So he said, I want our people to have a dream. You may not attain that dream, but to have a dream is important. We may not become a superpower in 2020. Maybe you will be super poor in 2020. But you must have an objective, an aim. And then you realize how far behind you are. And then that makes you work hard. And that is the dream that you must provide to your students and participants today. Thank you very much. I'm happy to inaugurate your seminar and wish you all the very success. And from seeing the people behind it, I have no doubt that will be a great success. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, sir. We are so blessed. We are so fortunate to listen to you, and I believe that numerous comments are pouring in the chat box too. And let me tell you that you did not use any jargons, very simple, very ordinary words, but there was a lot of ordinariness in the ordinariness that you tried to convey to all of us. And you have touched upon most of the important points that we actually encounter in higher education institutions, right from what I can say, the problem with research, the politicization of higher education scenario, and then the importance of infrastructure. Our principal actually must be very happy because we also have we are in fact in the planning half done. We have a huge library that is also coming up, and so you have in fact mentioned the importance of infrastructure, the linkage with industries and whatnot, and also the importance of research. And again, how Yuval Harari failed. We never thought he would fail when we read *Sapiens* some while ago. Importance of technology, the hybrid options, and also like how you said, people who wax eloquently about Marxism, most of them have not read Das Kapital or Communist Manifesto. That is a commonly told joke in our state that all of us know. So thank you, sir, once again. And we seek all your blessings in all our future endeavors. And we definitely would like to get your support in all our activities too. So,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we have come to an end of our session. So let me now thank each one of you who have gathered here. First of all, our principal, Dr. Sister Ashmita, for all the support that she has rendered to us. And also, we've got a lot of points from the talk that you delivered right now, sir. We are definitely hopeful of incorporating all these suggestions that you gave. And then Lauren at Associates, I should tell you that a lot of flip sides are there for COVID-19, but at the same time, these are a few positive sides. They have rightly utilized that, and they've come up with this idea of organizing webinars, and our students and budding research scholars have got this opportunity to interact with stalwarts like you. That is in fact an opportunity, and let me thank Dinto Sebastian and Sandhya for this venture of theirs, and also all the other distinguished speakers who've gathered here, and also the research scholars. We believe that this session would be greatly useful to each one of you. Now, we move on to the next session where we have another speaker who is waiting, and scholars too, that is Gopakumar V. Dr. Gopakumar sir, he will be delivering the next session. So a hearty welcome to you, sir. And he was in the Department of Library Science, University of Goa. And I believe our students are also very anxious. Research scholars from various parts of India. You can see this national workshop and various parts of India, they are here. So over to you, sir. Thanks a lot to each one of you once again. And also Sangeetha for handling it so beautifully. I know you've been behind this webinar for quite a long time, almost 1 month. She's been working on it. Thank you. Thanks a lot to each one of you. Good evening.